Hello, good morning. You are watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. We are back again on another edition of this program. As you know, on the morning program, we discuss many things. I mean, we deal with the community watch, newspaper review, social issues. And of course, we invite experts from different walks of life, to come and, interact with us in the studios and also give us an overview of what they do. If you want someone to analyze when it comes to security, we call the police PRO. If you want something on transport, we call the transport union president. If you want something on health, we call the health experts. And of course, if you want something on media, we call the Minister for Information, the Communication Minister, who is also the mouthpiece of the government of the Gambia. I mean, although we have a spokesperson for the government, but now we are seeing how proactive and how connected the communications and, of course, the spokesperson for the government, are working together to make it very effective. The government is now even closer to the people of the country through the Ministry of Communication. Mr. Mboj, good morning.
Good morning, Balde. Whether the government is closer or not, what I will say is that I like the idea of having this, is it a monthly or fortnightly press conference? Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. So whether that brings them closer or not, I think that journalists appreciate that, I would like to think. And that's how it should be. And there should be many more stuff like that.
Exactly, it's something important. You know, communication is key in whatever you do, even in your relations, even in your family settings, even in your societal settings. You need a very good communication strategy to be able to propel, certain things. And our guest today is no other but Mr. Usman Jatta. Usman is not a new face on QTV. He is a journalist, a very proactive one, and we've been seeing a lot of reports. Usman, how are you doing?
Thank you so much, Mr. Balde. I'm doing good, and I'm honored to be part of the program this morning.
Yes, it's good to have you here, and it's not going to be your usual news program. I mean, it's going to be a bit different. We're going to keep it basic and light on this program.
So what are you trying to say there? That his usual news program is so heavy and
breaking news, serious. So this is going to be basic today. Yeah, so we will take a look at the African code. From the code, we were talking to Mayatal Hochemi, Executive Director, Grade Institute, and we'll be talking about ecosystem, achievements and setbacks. And of course, breaking barriers, the only female marine engineer. She will also be on the program, and we'll take a look at her career. And why is she the only female marine engineer? In other countries, you have a lot of them.
Well, I don't know what other countries have, but yes, quite an achievement, and that's a very good question. Yeah. Why is it that she's the only female marine engineer?
Whether other countries don't have that patriarchy stuff, whereby men are chosen to do certain jobs.
You see, patriarchy, if you want to call it, it's all historical. Isn't it? By the societies have it, others don't. It's just the age. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so life is like your only speed. Once it breaks, you will never dig again. That's the African code. Life is like your only speed. You can call it a spade, you can call it a shovel. You can.
No, let's just stick to this. They've called it a spade.
Once it breaks, you will never dig again. Let's call a spade a spade. Yeah, so Mr. Mamadou Mboj, can't you replace the handle? Or can't you request for an iron spade so that you can be more guaranteed?
No, I don't need to do that. By putting it that way, one really misses the whole point of this, because it doesn't matter what I bring. since it was conceived by human beings, something could potentially go wrong. You know what I mean? I do not think that imperfect beings can create perfect things. It will never be perfect. So going back to this, what is a spade for? We use it for digging.
Yes.
That's the effort, isn't it? In life, whatever I do, isn't it? But yes. So, but here they're comparing life to the spade. Then this spade must be precious, irreplaceable. Because once you lose it, like life, that's it.
Imagine comparing life and spade.
Spades, absolutely.
How precious life is.
Absolutely.
And how knowing, how at the back of our head knowing that a spade is fragile. Sometimes it can
But
break
this is really the
unexpectedly.
comparison. This is it. So you've really got one crack at life. You better take it seriously and work. When you lose it, through whatever reason, that's it. It's talking about really the fragility of things. You know, what is precious to us is really so fragile. It doesn't take much to just lose it. So appreciate it.
You have
Show
to appreciate
gratitude.
things that are fragile.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. And the most precious things about us,
Especially
really, our most precious gift is life. But it's a fragile thing.
Well, I am definitely perplexed by the proverb. You know, I think the proverb is saying something that every person should take note. You know, once you lose it, I mean,
you will never dig again.
There was a time someone was driving carelessly. I still think about that. I still think about that scenario. It comes to my mind when I'm in my vehicle. So he was driving carelessly, and a policeman approached him and said to him, "Boy, you have a family at home, and you have only one life. Once you drive carelessly, when you die, you will never come back here. So take it easy and drive safe."
Absolutely.
You know,
Mr.
Mr. Jata, what's your own point of view?
I think we are basically on the same line as far as the code is concerned, and it's about opportunities, making good use of life. You know, it's not only about opportunities that come to you, but they will tell you your mind is your greatest asset as a human being. So making good use of your mind, your thoughts alone is an asset for you. So even without making good use of it to some extent, you know, you may not benefit from certain opportunities, you know, or you may not take certain decisions that will lead you to, you know, much progress in life. So it comes, there is this saying, you know, you only live for once. So it's important to make good use of your opportunities.
Hello.
Yes. So it's very crucial, you know.
I like that sort of here the spade is the mind.
Yes.
Isn't it? That's what you use to dig.
That's it.
There's an interesting poem called Digging, funnily enough, and the word spade is used in the poem by an Irishman, Seamus Heaney. That's essentially the same idea.
Yeah.
You see, watching the father with the spade, digging, they were potato farmers and all of that, and he said, with him, he's got his pen. As a writer, so his pen is his spade. He uses his pen to dig. Extraordinary imagery there.
Well,
it's really saying the same thing.
It depends what matters to you the most. I mean, the spade here can represent a lot of things.
Exactly. That is the idea.
Yes, you understand. So it's telling you to handle that with care. Well, if you are a journalist, handle your profession with care, professionalism, integrity. Because once you lose it, it's gone. You understand? So the spade here is very significant.
Absolutely.
You know, in other situations too, the spade can be replaced. Because life will tell you, if you fall, please pick up yourself and try again. But here it's talking about life. Once you lose it, there are instances when you lose a thing, you cannot replace them.
No.
You know, they're irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable. So this is the key here. So when you said that, well, the spade, you can change it, I'm like, I'm not sure, because here they're comparing it to life. And we all know that with life is only once. Once
YOLO.
you're gone, you don't come back.
YOLO, you live only once.
You live only once.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here it's talking about the irreplaceability of it, really. So your life or your source of earning, I do not know. There are certain things essential to you. They are so precious. When you lose them, when you lose your way, that's it. You're not coming back. You're not coming back.
Sure, sure.
So let's be careful. Let's be cautious. It's a cautionary tale.
Once you lose them, it's done.
Cautionary proverb, I think.
Viewers, thank you very much. You can send your comments on our social media handles. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, you know, QTV. We have our TikTok page now. You know, you can send your comment. Tell us what you think about this proverb. Life is your only spade. Once it breaks, you will never dig again. My brother, continue digging. So we will be right back after the break. Then we'll delve into the stories.
QMoney is back again with its easy-to-use, secure and convenient mobile app that allows you to carry out all your transactions. No matter where you are or what time it is, you can always access your funds. With the new QMoney app, you can cash in and out, buy credit, buy QPower, shop, make payments, and so much more. You can also send QMoney, pay bills, receive international remittances, and transfer cash to others. Just download the app from your Play Store or App Store and get started. For more information, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Kalpe. We innovate, others follow.
I am Ibrahim Abalde. You are watching QTV this morning. Thank you very much for always sticking by and following this program. And even if the program is not streamed, our viewers will send a message to me directly, or sometimes ask questions. Okay, what is happening to your streaming today? Or what is happening to QTV this morning? We have not seen it. You know, but thank you very much to the technical team and crew for always willing to stream this program, because now we have both on satellite and online. You understand? So we have followers online and followers on satellite, and everybody that is watching from their offices right now. And you'll be surprised to know we have a lot of followers from the ministries. I mean, they follow this program. When you go in the morning, they tune into QTV. And when they see you, they'll tell you, I watch your program here. I mean, I was watching yesterday, I watched this program here. So thank you.
And it is also important for them that if they have any suggestions about, you know, topics that we might cover, they can make these suggestions.
Absolutely.
You know, because we cover social issues, so they could be thinking of, you know, things that perhaps we are not thinking about. Then they can make suggestions.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so let's take a look at the first story on the Standard's newspaper. Government explains, demolitions at Salaji. You know, there's a huge demolition going on, and although it's a very unfortunate incident, it's a fortunate scenario, unfortunate scenario rather. Physical planning is saying some of them were not giving permits to build where they built these houses. But my question is, when they were on the process of building without completion, what have they done to stop that? Because it's easier to stop me from foundation than finishing, investing a lot of money on my building. Mr. Jata, what do you think?
Indeed, it's a very critical matter at this moment, and most families are left, you know, wondering where to move out, you know, because most of them are homeless as we speak. So, like you said, with regards to the issue of like communication or trying to talk to them with regards to like their construction, to help their construction, you know, they have indicated in their report that, you know, they have been conducting dialogues, more especially with the community leaders, you know, and also, you know, publishing press releases about advising people this is away from like constructing or having homes in such areas. Actually, that is part of their report which was published yesterday at the conference center actually. But it's a bit critical because most of the affected victims would tell you they have papers from the Department of Physical Planning, and this was something that was visible sometime yesterday on social media. I saw one of the victims posted it on Facebook and showing, you know, everyone like the documents she has actually. So it's a bit critical, and you know it shows a lot of, you know, background work happening, and you can never tell. But the officials have also like given chance to any victim who feels like, you know, you have got the right, you acquired your land through the right channels, and you felt you have the feeling that, you know, you have been wrongly, you know, dealt with. You can always go back to the Ministry of Lands and, you know, to lodge a complaint. Yes.
You see, but this is the thing, though. If these people, they've got all the right documents and like, but still, the department went ahead and demolished their places, then there's an issue. How did they get those documents when quite clearly here we are told that they were not supposed to build anything there, isn't it? And stuff like that. But again, you're saying that once you started building, maybe the department staff should have come and say, look, you cannot build here, and that sort of thing. But again, just because the department had not done that doesn't necessarily legitimize what you're doing.
That's it.
You know what I mean? If it is wrong, it is wrong.
It is wrong, yeah.
We know that in our societies, people, a good number of times, we do what we shouldn't do, especially building in areas that we shouldn't, and then when it rains, when there's a flooding, we've seen as the risks that they open themselves to when these things happen, isn't it? So my question is this: were they treated unfairly? See, this is really what my question will be. Were they treated unfairly? Because sometimes in the name of fairness, because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, I will probably demolish in the name of fairness. So here everything will hinge on whether they were treated fairly. You know what I mean?
I think that's a very significant question to some extent, because part of the houses that they demolished, you know, not only the houses, but like inhabited houses and the ones that are not inhabited. So some of the structures, you know, are blocking the path to access, like to the main highway, and equally as well drain areas. You know, so all of those, you know, most of those structures were also demolished, and it was indicated in the report yesterday to some extent as
That's
well.
it. So you realize it's always a balance between individual interest and the bigger interest, the collective one. So you have a few who would build perhaps where they shouldn't, but again, the whole community will pay the price. Why? Why, because of a few, then the whole community pays the price for that, because of the repercussions if water cannot go. So, yeah, that's what I mean. So the balancing act between individual interests or even group interests and the broader community.
But it's a bit critical for the fact that now most of them have settled down with their families. And one of the guys I could recall interviewing yesterday, he's from the diaspora and he's supposed to go back, but because of this problem now he's stuck in the Gambia. And,
he needs to extend his stay.
So that it's becoming a problem to some extent. So, and the guy was like, when he was building, like you were saying, you know, he built and, you know, made blocks and everything. No one said anything. After living there for almost 4 years with the family, now, you know, this came through. So it's a bit critical for
well,
them.
you know,
but if at the time that he was building it, he knew that what he was doing was wrong.
Probably he is given papers with an assurance you can go ahead with the construction.
He bought the land from somebody who is in Sukuta, actually, you know, not actually from the government.
Well,
actually. So,
Mr. Jata,
and he was very concerned about compensation.
You did mention there was a lady that came out and said, okay, I was giving my permit to build. You understand? I was given my papers to go ahead with my construction. And the demolition affected her as well. So maybe these are the same scenario that happened, Mr. Momodu.
Similar, yes.
Probably.
Well, they do say, the lawyers do say that caveat emptor, buyer beware, especially when it comes to land in this country.
Sure.
You have to be absolutely completely alert and the like. So, well, it's important to get into this and really ask the question, if they're treated unfairly, that shouldn't be, you know what I mean? But one shouldn't get too sentimental. We have regulation and rules for reasons. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Nobody's just being self-indulgent and just being cruel or unkind. There are rational grounds for having certain rules. So we have to follow those rules. Admittedly, our structures, our bureaucracy is really quite problematic in itself as well. Yes, for instance, where people say that they've bought the land, they've got the documents, but afterwards you realize that the documents mean nothing. So that's really what we need to fight against. But let us not get too sentimental, so the people will get used to doing the right thing.
And I think one important aspect that everybody should learn from this situation is it's not only about getting the papers. You can get the papers from anywhere and, you know, still you are in trouble. I think it's important to understand the history of like each plot you want to buy to some extent, because, you know, the Department of Physical Planning is saying that this land was acquired, it's a government land acquired through the Ministry of Lands since 2001 to some extent, and, you know, they started giving out the lands as residential plots like in 2005. So it's important to understand all of these things. Most people don't understand that there are certain specific locations that are reserve lands, they are government layouts, and it's not only Salaji to some extent. And the report has also indicated that now they would move to other places like Olyundum, Tanje, you know, Sotokoi, and they have demolitions to make in all these places. So, and in most of these places, people have already settled down. If you are very careful, you would notice that around the airport, there is a specific area which was termed as a reserve land. To some extent, I came one time, I saw the place was filled to capacity. And you'll be surprised that some of those people have been served with a notice to leave the area. So the problem would be now, if they start the demolition, everybody will start to complain. But initially, that place was termed as a reserve land. So I think that is very important that people
the only thing I believe now, henceforth, if you were to get a land, you have to go through the right process.
Indeed.
Do not just go halfway and you think it's okay. Probably you might go and they give you documents, you know, and you think it's okay. But go through, make fact checks. I mean, go through, even if you were to go through a lawyer, make sure the lawyer to advise you on what to do.
The documents could be forged.
Yeah, because people can do anything just to get money from you. So at the end of the time, you are the one losing. Look at the instance where we have now, where landlords or where some alcalos or where individuals will sell one land to different individuals with different documents, different papers. You understand? So we have land. Land is becoming a problem in the Gambia.
Becoming a problem?
It's already a problem.
It's becoming, because
it is a problem.
if it's not handled with care, in the next 10 years it will explode bigger than this. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, the potential for anything to worsen, granted, that's very true, but still right now the situation is bad. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, so we also have another story, the same on the Standard newspaper. Madi Jobate is saying Salaji demolition victims to consider taking legal action. Of course. I mean,
obviously,
when these things happen, all you think about is taking legal action against the people who've done it. I mean, if you are giving your papers the right way, and the next minute you are evicted from your house and demolition. You know, there is eviction and demolition. You understand? You can be evicted without demolition. You understand? But when there is demolition, then the matter is very serious. So, I mean, it's left to the victims.
The court option is always there. In societies, you do also have sort of the diplomatic option where people talk about it, discuss it. So there are many options that are open. Taurus, yeah? But in this instance, yes, Mad is correct. These people, yes, they can have access to the law and go and test, as it were, what the government is doing, test the waters and see what happens. Absolutely.
It may be the last resort to some extent, like you suggested. Like, in fact, that was what most people were saying, that like before the demolition could have taken place, they could have called all the people involved, then they discuss of like a way out. But now that it has reached this stage, you know, one may consider like going and taking legal actions to some extent, you know. So it's...
Well, I can remember a year ago, I mean, there was a similar incident in Lamen, Mandinaring, Kerewan, going towards Makumbaya. There was a guy, you know, by the name Job, something Serin Job, who said he owns most of the land in that area, more than 1,000 to 2,500 compounds.
Wow.
You know, he owns all those things. So at some point, it wanted to create sort of a problem, a bigger problem, you know. So these are things that, you know, land should be controlled. I mean, the government, Ministry of Land, you know, the people responsible physical planning, they should all come together and regulate the issue of lands, you know. Because today, most civil servants or most people here today, what they think about is, okay, how am I going to get a very comfortable place for me to settle with my family? So what about you? I mean, you invest your whole life to that, and one day it's gone.
Yeah.
It's devastating.
That's the problem. But they have got a chance if they really think that, like if they really have the right documents, you know, from the right authorities, you know, they can always challenge it. Because some of the guys were in fact like, you know, how can we apply for now? Like, we have electricity, we have water, we pay taxes, you know, for our compounds, and you know, we still face demolition to some extent. So I think, you know, those are enough like evidences for them. But like Mr. Mboj said, you know, it can still be, you know, on the wrong platform. Like if at all, you know, the land belongs to the government, it's a reserved land, you know, so to some extent. So
exactly. So let's move on. Korea, I've seen one of the papers here telling me he is not free of murder charge. Yes, Korea not free of torture charge, not murder charge, rather torture. The Standard newspaper.
This is Michael
Korea.
Korea.
Yeah. So the Standard is saying Korea not free of torture charges.
What does that mean? That he might face
yes,
torture charges.
Not might face, not free.
not free.
He's not free. It's like
Not free of.
Not free of torture charges.
What does that mean?
Probably there was a statement that said probably he might not be part of certain things. And now here they're saying, okay, no. I mean, he might not be free of this because it was a team, and he was part of the team, you know, the perpetrators. I mean, so at some point.
Well, the allegation is that you were a jungler. Yes? And what do we mean by that? That was the death squad of the former president. Allegations of torture, kidnappings, murder. All of these things emerged during the TRRC hearings. Yes? So let's go to court. We test these things. There's nothing that I can say. I have to take the TRRC report because that was where we heard witnesses, you know, giving testimonies, and from the testimonies we could tease out some narrative of what happened. But the TRRC was in a court.
Indeed.
Now we need to prosecute where we must prosecute, and then justice be served.
The TRRC is very significant. I mean, the importance of the TRRC cannot be overemphasized because that's where the justice arm is going to rely. I mean, to carry out certain things. You understand? And my only problem is the transitional justice process, how slow it's going. And some of these victims, they need closure. And it's taking too long. Although when you talk about, I mean, closure, most people will tell you in other countries it took years, it took decades, it took a lot of time before some of these things were implemented.
You see, but this is the question for you as well. What might a fast transitional process look like? Have you ever seen it? What does it mean? How long is a transition? So you've realized you've assumed so much about these things that perhaps you're not justified to. So I'm not sure whether we're too tardy, too slow, or too fast.
Transitional justice process can also depend on the country you are living in. It can depend on the population of a country.
Sure.
You cannot compare Sierra Leone and Gambia. Sierra Leone, they have a much bigger population. You cannot compare maybe Nigeria and Gambia. Nigeria is in its hundreds of millions. I think 215 million the last time I checked in population. And we are here with less than 3 million people. So it depends on how the population is and how the country justice process is also led.
Yeah, I think
that's what I think.
That's okay. So that's why I ask you, name one country that had a fast transitional process.
I think the approach.
Well, I mean, we cannot give you the name of a country. That's why I said initially, although when you talk to some people, they will tell you other countries took time before it happened. So I said probably in the Gambia it might be a different case because considering we have a smaller population, we can do things in a fast pace, I think.
So do you think that these transitional processes depend on the size of your population?
Well, it can happen that way, Mr. Mboj. It depends. It depends how your population is. I think it can also determine how your justice process can be dispensed quickly.
No, population is one thing. The nature of processes quite another. Be it in passing laws, legislation, that's one process. Be it in choosing leadership, what is the democratic process? Processes are very complex. Human beings are complex. We are small, but no less complex than other societies. So it is a mistake to think that because we are a small country, therefore we are simple. We are not simple. We are as complex as anybody else. So this has to do with the nature of these transitional processes. A transition really takes a long time.
Yeah, it's like
it's amazing how we think that it's a short duration, isn't it? That sort of thing.
It's like in the case of Rwanda, they started in 2005 and ended in 2012 to some extent. But I think what you're saying is very important. It depends on the approach to some extent. It may not only depend on the size of the country, because you know, one may say the crimes committed may be bigger than the country to some extent, because the TRRC, regarded the report, of the TRRC regarded the crimes committed, under the Jammeh regime as amounted to, war crimes to some extent, the crimes which have been committed by the junglers to some extent. So I think, what he's saying is very right. Like there are systems, you have to follow procedures, like setting up the legal frameworks and everything to make sure that, the right process happens. Like in the case of Jammeh, in order to be able to try Jammeh, there is a need to create a hybrid court, and that requires resources. And as a country, we are still mobilizing funds to make sure that that hybrid court is being able to settle.
My problem is what effort are we? How quick and how swift is our effort of mobilizing those funds? Here, Mr. Jata, we have victims.
Sure.
There are people who are handicapped. There are people who lost their husbands. There are people who've never seen their fathers. There are people whose parents were killed, like a parent was killed.
Sure,
a dad was killed when the mother was maybe 3 months pregnant. You understand? You cannot sit and talk about a slow pace of justice system to those people. they are hungry to see, okay, justice prevail, and what we are supposed to be given, or what we are supposed to get, or what we are supposed to be shown, okay, this is the justice that is dispensed as to this case, happen. So it's difficult to honor. That's why I said probably we don't have a bigger population, things might be faster, because that is the notion that many people had during the TRRC. Many people thought, okay, the TRRC will come and clear everything. Those that are supposed to be taking to point A will be taken to point A. Those that are supposed to be given what they are supposed to be given.
You know, the TRRC did not capture everybody as well, like, because the victim community is large to some extent. But you know, when you look at the whole thing, you know, you can tell that like progress is going on. It's a bit slow, but it's still going, because you know now the victim commission, you know, like has already reached the parliament, you know, and which is a significant step to some extent. So it might take time, but you have to like take your time to be able to distinguish, you know, who are the right people, you know, who deserves this and this and this, you know, the right compensation and so forth. So that may not be a thing of like just 1 month or 3 months, you know, and you're done. If not, you may compensate or some people, you know, with the wrong.
Since the TRRC ended, it's how many years today?
It's a long time now.
It's a long time. It's going to 5 years maybe, Mr. Momodumbo.
It's deeper than that.
It's deeper than that.
There are many truths. Everything that you've said about the victims and really the horror, really, that's all very true. Equally true is this. Now you are a government. You need resources for the reparations and money. You don't have it. For the prosecutions, you need expertise. You don't have it. You don't have it, yeah. See, that's also true. You do not have the enabling condition. The condition isn't right for you to pursue these processes that you want to pursue, you know, to give reparations and to do the prosecutions and all of that. Sure. So this is the reality of your situation. At home, I may have so many responsibilities, but I do not have enough resources to deal with that. So what do? Perhaps with some of them I abandon. With others, I design a plan where I can take one step at a time. You know what they call bite-sized chunks, as it were. So that is also a reality, Mr. Balder. So what do you do about that?
I think there is a lot of balancing happening to some extent.
That is a lot of balancing act.
We were discussing about various issues on the weekend review to some extent. How do we solve them, you know? So the government has a lot of responsibilities, like you said, and there is a need to create a balance. You know, you cannot put all of the resources in one, you know, basket, and all of a sudden the economy goes dead. And so it requires a lot of, you know, care, you know, in as much as it is important.
You know, Mr. Jatta and Mr. Balde, it is quite funny. You see, in life, really, if it had been a simple choice between the good and the bad, it would have been much easier. But you find yourself having to make a choice between the bad and the worst. You know what I mean? It's an extraordinary situation. So it's a really very sad situation, really. So a lot of people will go through life. You wouldn't have certain justice.
Thank you, gentlemen. We've already exhausted the time for this segment. I wish we would have gone on and on and on.
And we were just warming up.
And when you talk about the victim, I mean, you talk about everybody in the Gambia. I mean, I am just surprised they didn't even call me at the TRRC, because I was also mentally tortured. Considering, I mean, those days.
But I can still engage you on a platform.
You know, that cannot be lead counsel, my brother. So thank you, Mr. Jatta, for talking to us on QTV this morning. And we hope we are going to do this thing another time.
Indeed, inshallah.
Yes. So viewers, we'll take a short break. After the break, the program continues. We'll be back.
Kiusel moy suñu boss Go, ebeda wada full network suda tili. QCell. Ni lafta diamala wati jamala mune diata. QCell. Most reliable network dumala keta wati. QCell. Wo quality man yon soda jam ona manke QCell. Anibe wulo ni farole kono walante be bako na jala fayola network ko se taria. QCell. Sunyu boss. Nyo finjeka indi 3G new delu taxi 4G plus and now we bring you 5G. 5G. First and only 5G provider. Itella follow adi doron nesa keno. Gambia bela nyon tawo fele QCell. Ko fasunta buka busi QCell. Itella moldi milka kukutol nati Gambia. QCell made lori la kiliano yele imanjina amanda wala itella ka quality dila dadi ma itelle silo wala wodol mume be keno ma. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. Connection be bambandi QCell sunyu boss. QCell most innovative QCell sunyu boss.
Kiumoni arti webi na fitoragol no yawi te non kadi no moƴƴi Kiumoni a wawa wadde piiji ɗin fow kala ko wonɗa wattu kala a wawa hendade mbuudi maɗin e o Kiumoni app kesson a wawa nattinde mbuudi ma ɗum yaltina soda credit soda kiw power soda ko falaɗa te non kadi wawa hen yoɓude himɓe e ko heewi ida wawi kadi nuldude Kiumoni yoɓa bilji maɗin te non kadi hendoɗa mbuudi ko yaasi nulda himɓe kadi mbuudi fi nafitoragol ɗum no weeɓi yahu ka play store ma ɗum ka app store fi wawa fuɗɗade fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi noddu Kiumoni customer care e 133 Kiumoni suñu kalpe minen udditi lawol ngol si woɓɓe jokki Kiumoni e muruntananne koteke anilañi mobile app sone yariŋo a lannayata ndun e se kuwol be keno ibe dawoda wati o wati e se muna fanno ila kodola anin Kiumoni la ñim mobile app kuto e se kodo dundino ye kodo fintinde e se credit ko sanno ye Q power sang ye feŋol sang ndun fanan e se mol jono anin ku jamalu e se Kiumoni kino yela bilol jo ndun fanan bantala banko se kodo kiyeno e se kodo fanan kino do kotenye pour que muna fanyina a download sign play store anin app store ni laftaka kuserengo soto je Kiumoni customer care commandi 133 Kiumoni suñu kalpe ntolle nga silo walang dole mol noma Kiumoni delsina ak sen mobile app bu bes bi orna gawna te it mun nga ko jëfande ko pour def ci lo buga fo mun dine watu bu ne mun nga jot sa halis ak Kiumoni mobile app bu bes bi mun nga dugal halis génné halis jënd ci credit jënd ci Q power jënd lo buga ak yu bari mun nga ci yone Kiumoni fay sa bill si jot halis bitim réew yónnee halis ci noo ko bëggee looy def yombana downloadal app bi léegi ca Play Store bu dul loolu App Store pour nga door pour am si lu leer koolal Kiumoni customer care si 133 Kiumoni suñu kalpe ñoo xaali yoon wi ñeneen toppa
Q-Money is back again with its easy-to-use.
We are back. You are watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Now let's move to the third segment of this program. And we're talking about the Gambia ecosystem, its achievements and setbacks. And we have Maya Tal. I call you Maya Tal. I always call you Maya.
Yes.
You said it's Miyai?
Mayai.
Mayai. Okay.
Comes to Mayai.
Mayai. All right. Executive Director, Grid Institute. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
This is a very important topic. It has to do with our ecosystem in the Gambia, and it should be everybody's business. I mean, protecting it and preserving it. I believe each and every person, directly or indirectly, it's your responsibility, because when things go wrong there, it affects everybody. Exactly. Yes.
And interestingly, before you start, just tell us about the Grid Institute as a background, and you dovetail into this.
Right. So I'm the founder and executive director of Grid Institute. It is the first marine and coastal research institution in the Gambia. We have three main focus, and we focus on research, education, and outreach. And for research, we do a lot of research along the River Gambia as well as the Atlantic Ocean and within the ecosystems of those aquatic systems. For education, we provide a lot of free education and resources to K through 12 and university students. And for outreach, we are always in the communities, working with people whose livelihoods depend on these ecosystems.
So what has Gambia done, when it comes to conversations to protect the biodiversity, what have we done as a country?
I'm actually proud of where we are right now, because when I started in this field many years ago, I'm not going to say my age, there weren't that many voices out there talking about protecting and conserving the environment. But I think today we've seen a number of youth that have come together, to join together, to collaborate together, and have a single voice in protecting and conserving the ecosystem. So I'm actually proud, because before I used to be one of the few, as well as the only woman, but there's so many women, there's so many young people, and they're making positive changes.
Absolutely there. Yes, the advocacy, if I can call it as one thing. What about the action? Be it from government or from citizens, what's about the action in dealing with the vulnerabilities, what we need to deal with?
Right. So one of our main vulnerabilities, if we talk about the aquatic systems, are coastal erosion, sea level rise, saltwater intrusion. And if you've noticed, you've seen like an increase of restoration activities, planting mangroves. So there's a lot of action with community-based organizations and communities. For government, I've seen that they have now started to listen to the voices of the people, and so they're slowly acting, but they are acting.
And why do you think the government is starting to listen to the voices of the people now?
Well, I think government is also people. And it's also affecting them. One of our main sources of protein is from the fisheries, and so you can't be a minister and not see the increasing price of some of these daily foods that we eat.
So we are restoring mangroves. I mean, the efforts to restore mangroves, how far have we gone?
Well, we don't restore mangroves. We leave that to the young people and for the communities to take ownership in their work. But I have seen amazing survival and growth rates, especially in the areas along the Bintang Balong, which is the longest tributary that we have. It had a lot of degradation in the 1970s. We've seen some degradation even recently in the early 2000s. And so when I see how much growth has happened in that area, I'm really proud. And we can even talk about within the Tambi wetlands close to us. I don't know if you remember, like over in the area by Bacau Cape Point, it was really dry lands, but you've seen, the communities coming out, replanting, because obviously the sea level is rising. So the water is increasing. And because of the water, we're able to replant. So we've got amazing aerial photography showing that growth. We also have, stages where we've seen some degradation, but not much. And we've seen also, even with the women, there's organizations that are out there taking action. I know you've heard of Try Oyster Women, but they are doing, they're performing alternative methods for harvesting as well as cultivating. They do not harvest all year round. And so that just shows another way of action being done within the people and the communities.
Listen, I've got here perspective on Gambia's ecosystem. But I imagine we have many ecosystems, if I can call it that, isn't it? The wetlands, the bit of forest, the bit of savanna. So how would the country profile of our ecosystems look like? How vulnerable, how big is the threat, as it were, of climate change to our situation? Because we are told that Banjul, for instance, I don't know, in 50 years or 80 years, it will be gone.
There'll be flooding.
Stuff like, you say stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you see?
I mean, we've seen some threats. We've seen it. I mean, we've seen, like I said, coastal erosion. We've seen, unfortunately, the burial sites that have been eroded, previously. We've seen that certain areas, certain communities had to migrate because of Banjul becoming worse and worse with flooding. So there is a great threat, and we're also losing our biodiversity. I'm sure you guys remember Sir Dawda's
Banjul
Banjul
Declaration.
Declaration, yes,
1977.
and all of the animals that was on that Banjul Declaration.
Flora and the fauna.
And now you can't even find a lot of those species here in the Gambia.
No more.
So we're seeing it, and every time I go to East Africa, they're like, "Which big fives do you have?" And I'm like, "We don't have the big fives, but we have a beautiful ecosystem. We have migratory birds. The River Gambia is so beautiful. I love taking students on the river and seeing the dolphins, seeing the hippos, seeing the different, chimps, monkeys, baboons, you name it."
So let's talk about the setbacks, the challenges.
So that's it. In the context of this is the profile. So what's sort of like some of the hardest hurdles, as it were, in changing, in dealing with this, in providing solutions? What's been the hardest hurdles, as it were, in dealing with this?
For me, one of the hardest things is really dealing with older and elder people, because attitudinal change is really a problem in all sectors here in the Gambia. And for us, what we do is we work with young people. They say if you want to develop a nation, you have to develop its youth. And so we focus on developing the next generation of scientists, conservationists, researchers, storytellers, journalists, you name it, because they're the future. And so for me, I don't look at challenges as a way of a setback, but a challenge to keep moving forward.
So let's talk about urbanization. How does it affect, our ecosystem? It's growing and people are settling.
Yeah.
And I am pretty sure it is also going to cause another degradation.
It's so funny because on the way here, I was trying to imagine what life was like for me as a child, falling in love with the ocean and the river. And I kept saying, there weren't that many people on the beach. I could just roam for hours. I would, at low tide, go from Banjul to Vajar. But now I dare not because of urbanization. There's too many, not because of the population, but because of the infrastructure. The water doesn't know where to go, and so it's causing a lot of flows and even cases of lagoons. So areas where I could walk at low tide, I can't walk anymore. And so urbanization, unfortunately, has a negative impact, but if we work on better infrastructure as we're urbanizing, to reduce pollution as well, to keep the waterways, to keep them to flow, I think we can combat that challenge of urbanization.
And we used to drive on the beach from Bakau to Sanyang on the beach.
Exactly.
Can you imagine?
Although we shouldn't have, but we did.
From Bakau to Sanyang?
Yes,
Yeah.
on the beach.
Wow.
Straight you could. Low tide, extraordinary.
And that's how
now
many
you
years
wouldn't
back?
dare. You wouldn't dare. Yeah, sort of back in the 80s, I have to say.
Yeah, but in the 80s, 90s,
I
but
could do that.
even the amount of lagoons that I'm seeing, maybe in the last 20 years.
You can do that. Yeah, so it's
But you see, that's it. So it seems the longer term solution, really, the sustainable one, it's a long haul, changing attitudes and all the rest of it. But in the short term, isn't it here is where you will perhaps need government, legislation, try to bring some order in the short term to this area? How do you see that angle? Even the legislation you have, wouldn't that all of that help, at least in the short term, to get some semblance of sense to this, whilst we are working on the longer term attitudinal changes?
I mean, there are legislation, there is frameworks, there are policies. It's just the implementation part that needs to be worked on. And what we hope to do at Great Institute, and we have another organization that I am a co-founder, Gambia Ocean Heroes. We want to build the science to drive good policies. I think there's been a lack of science from us Gambians that's been long-term. So creating that database, collecting that data so that it can support government in their decisions, because globally, climate change is affecting everybody. So we have to think about what are the things that we know now to help drive those good policies and frameworks.
So are you partnering with any other international organization at least to support this?
Yes, so we partner with national and international organizations. I am a National Geographic Explorer, so one of my partners is National Geographic, and as you know, they focus a lot on the science, the conservation, and the storytelling. And so I've been very privileged to get a lot of training from them and to get some support, whether it's through in kind or through donation, well, through grant. We also partner with universities, international universities. Obviously, we work with UTG. We recruit a lot of UTG students, but we work with the University of Geneva in Switzerland. I'm currently sending a PhD, well, a student to start her PhD at the University of Geneva. We work with Texas A&M. We work with Swansea University. We've worked with some big leading organizations like Nat Geo, like Sustainable Ocean Alliance. They support a lot of our efforts for Gambia Ocean Heroes. It's just so many. So I'm grateful to have these amazing partnerships, but it didn't start just from the work that I did in Gambia. It started from when I was an undergraduate student, building that network and telling them I want to come back home and start Great Institute. And a lot of them thought that I was, leaving a career that was painted for me to be in academia, but I really wanted to come back home and make a difference with the young people here.
And just a quick one. And your personal journey. What was the trigger? Why did you go in this direction, as it were?
I was born into the environmental sector, the social sector, the economic sector. My father is Sehu Tal. He's an agronomist. He helped, start NARI as well as Water Resources Lab that was built in Abuko. My mother is an environmental justice activist. She helped support a lot of policies put by the United States. She's American, obviously, and she fought for civil rights. So I grew up, I was born to do this. I remember as a young girl, being 8 years old, fighting for civil rights for people to one day get reparations in the United States, and also fighting for landfills that were put in communities that caused a lot of cancer with people. So I remember as a young girl, I want to say around 12, 13, going to communities where people were disformed, either too short or too tall because of the chemicals that were in the air or in the water. So I was born into this.
Absolutely. I like getting to the roots of things.
Thank you. Thank you, Mia, for coming on QTV this morning. And we hope to engage you more in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
Maya Tal.
Maya Tal. I always call her Mia Tal.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be back after the break.
It's back again with its easy-to-use, secure and convenient mobile app that allows you to carry out all your transactions. No matter where you are or what time it is, you can always access your funds. With the new Q Money app, you can cash in and out, buy credit, buy Q Power, shop, make payments, and so much more. You can also send Q Money, pay bills, receive international remittances, and transfer cash to others. Just download the app from your Play Store or App Store and get started. For more information, call customer care on 133. Q Money, Sinu Kalpe. We innovate, others follow.
QCell mooy suñu boss. QCell mooy suñu boss. QCell mooy suñu boss. Soro go ebe dawa full network suda tili QCell ni lafta diamla wati jamala mune diata QCell most reliable network dumala keta wati QCell wo quality man nyon soto jam ona manke QCell hani be wuloni farole kono walante be bakono jala fayola network ko se taria QCell suñu boss ñofi njeka indi 3G ñu delu taxi 4G plus and now we bring you 5G 5G first and only 5G provider suñu boss itela follow adi doron nesa keno suñu boss Gambia bela nyon tawo fele QCell suñu boss ko fasunta buka busi QCell suñu boss itela molti milka kukutol nati Gambia QCell meta lori la kilianol yele imanyina amanda wala itela ka quality dila dadi ma itele silo wala wodol mume be keno ma QCell suñu boss QCell suñu boss QCell suñu boss QCell suñu boss connection be bambandi QCell suñu boss QCell most innovative QCell suñu boss
arti webi nafitoragol no yawi te non kadi no moƴƴi Q-Money a wawa wadde piiji ɗin fow kala ko wonɗa wattu kala a wawa hendade mbuudi maɗin e o Q-Money app kesong a wawa nattinde mbuudi maɗum yaltina soda credit soda Q power soda ko falaɗa te non kadi wawa hen yoɓude himɓe e ko heewi ida wawi kadi nuldude Q-Money yoɓa bilji maɗin te non kadi hendoɗa mbuudi ko yaasi nulda himɓe kadi mbuudi fi nafitoragol ɗum no weeɓi yahu ka Play Store maɗum ka App Store fi wawa fuɗɗade fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi noddu Q-Money customer care e 133 Q-Money suñu kalpe minen udditi lawol ngol si woɓɓe jokki.
Yes, we are back. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Obalde. Now let's move on to the last segment of this program. We have our Masakai. Masakai or Masakoi?
Masakoi.
Masakoi, okay. You know, she is a marine engineer and breaking the barriers, the only female marine engineer. Awa ñu la dalal ci programme bi. Naka nga def?
May fa jërë ngeen jëf.
Naka liggéey bi yéen a ngi ci kawam?
Si ko ñu ngi góorgóorlu.
Waaw kontaan nañ trop pour ñu dalal la fii ci QTV pour ñu mun a waxtaan sa carrière as nga nekk jigéen boo xam ne yow ci marine engineer department bi nga nekk di liggéey bëggoon nañ nga wax ñu tuuti yow yaay kan ak nga wax ñu tuuti ci sa carrière.
Ok jërëjëf Mr. Balde maa ngi leen a jaajëfal si invitation boole ma jox nii pour ma ñëw mun a wax ak askan bi comme suma carrière like lum ñëwee na si lu xayma bu bëri parce que def naa schooling St. Michael's ma jeexal foofu noonu ma dem St. Joseph ma def fa tamit ñetti at ma jeexal after ma dem GTTI ma def foofu noonu auto mécanique meaning fiita liggéey fiita parce que liggéey bu ma nekk di def fii time bu ma doon dem foofu noonu fekk school bi nekkutoon di ko joxe.
ok
waaw so loolu laa jànga bu ma fa pare maa ngi woon di dem si garage yu ndaw yi parce que jànga métier dafa ànd ak ngay bugg di dem pour dem di xool yow looy jànga naka lañ koy defee si garage bi parce que doo mun a nekk toppa bug bi rek ak pen bi rek te bañ a xam lu nekk si garage bi ma doon dem school maa ngi doon dem garage su ma wàccee school ma dem garage waaye after ma xool ne garage yi maa ngi jàng waaye time bu ma am su ma wàccee school pour dem garage bëriwut te duma si mun a jànga te fii liggéey garage liggéey suba la si liggéey bi yëpp si suba la soo demee si bëccëg wala si ngoon doo fa fekka dara ay ranger kele nga fay fekka ñu ne la paagal kele fompal nii ak nii te liggéey bi yëpp suba la léegi si laa dem Sénégal ma nekk fa juróom-ñeenti weer ma nekk foofu di jàng practical léegi bu mu fa jógee after si laa dellu si waat mu am suma benn ko xam ne moomu senior si jànga bi moom tamit si fil bi la nekkoon tamit moom tam mécanique la def tamit GTTI fekk moom tam mu ngi liggéey ferries mu ne ma trial nga ñëw fii pour nga lii parce que liggéey bi yëpp benn la ñun fii ñu ngi liggéey waaye amuñ jigéen boo xam ne kooku moo ñëw mun a xool pour liggéey léegi yow trial nga ñëw si laa dem foofu noonu ma nekk foofu internship apprenti parce que loolu lañ ko di mun a waxee waaw apprenti after ma nekk fa di dem ak gaay di daw ak métti na nag waaye lu nekk rek ak fas jom la parce que loo bugga da nga am pour fas jom waaw nga mun a jot loo am waaw so noonu laa nekk fas jom di daw ak gaay liggéey guddi liggéey suba liggéey ngoon noonu ba bu yàlla defee employment aw ma fa at sax si laa am employment 9 months laa def fiita yaa apprentice si laa am employment
ñu jël la
ferries
waaw
lan la marine engineer day def
marine engineer in general waaye marine engineer comme liggéeyi ndox la parce que marine engineer machine la machine yi moto ak machine yi ferry moto mu ngi daw si kaw tali bi waaye ferry mu ngi daw si kaw ndox bi te dafa am système so in terms of marine seen cooling system bi nekkut benn because da nga am C2C ñoom seen ndox si géej bi nga koo jëlee si géej bi la moo dellu waaye xam nga si nekkee moto da nga root ndox pour nga mun a sol si sa tank bi ndax mu mun a
cool moto
bi waaye ñoom seen cooling system bi si kaw ndox bi la nekka
ok
waaw ñoom seen cooling system bi yëpp si kaw ndox bi la nekka waaw
ok interesting so yow nga starté auto mécanique léegi nga transform nga dem si marine engineer lan mooy di difference between fii liggéey fii ak liggéey bële na li
comme man différence bi gisuma fa différence bu bëri différence bi moo nekk comme machine yi seen rëyaayaay ak seen liggéey benn liggéey la parce que piste na fa nekk ak yu sew yi ñoom crankshaft ñoom camshaft ak seen timing system bi so dafa des machine bu nekk ak un timing system am bi nu mel waaye machine la daal nooy luusee ak nooy tayree yëpp benn la moo nekk xanaa mu fekka mu am yenn place yoo xam ne dafa am different maybe anti-clockwise la moo nekk pour rotation yi object boobu noonu so loolu la waaye machine la amul dara lu si miiti even machine yi plane sax machine la waaye yow mi xam ne lii laa bugg a def yow yaay xool tamit nga dimbale sa boppa tamit si loolu nga focus parce que amul dara lu yomba si kaw suuf waaye dangay fas jom nga déglu nga teey nga ànd ak nit yi suñ la waxee nii la ñoo defee nii nga ànd ak gaay nga def suñ la waxee di nga ko defee nii tamit nga ànd ak gaay nga def waaw waaye sant yàlla parce que suñ liggéeykaay am na mag yoo xam ne comme soo ñëwee di jànga dañ laa jàppale
ok
waaw soo ñëwee dañ laa wax ne lii nii leen koo defee lii nii leen koo defee jëlal sa time nga defee ko nii soo ko defee loo xam ne du noonu dañ laa oo ñu ne la lii noo ko defee du nii nii nga ko war a defee waaw jànga naa lu bari seen ron parce que bu ma ñëwee métti woon nag man waaye bu ma nekkee bàyyi xel su ma xamutee ma laajte leen lii ak lii naka la nii lañ koy defee ñu ne ma waaw defee ko nii la moo demee may jànga si gaay ndanka ba tey maa ngi jànga mokkalu ma nag waaye ba tey maa ngi jànga si gaay waaw
mais quick one sa fii ñu ngi maa wax ne yow yaay di only female marine engineer
waaw
so man maa ngi xalaat ne duma la laaj lu tax ñeneen ñi duñ dee ñëw de non ñoom ñooy the majority so naa la laaj what is crazy about you pour nga dem dugg ci loo xam ne góor yi ñoo ko dee mel li def
man comme liggéey bi after dama gis ma xam ne lu doona la si man parce que man soo fa fiita la
see
ok
waaw
ok nice
man soo fa fiital te ñun suñ kër ñaar man ak suma raka bu góor tamit moom tam di same thing mu ngi si process moom tam mu ngi def fiita tamit so dama ko gisee loo xam ne comme deret la si ñun so man noonu laa ko gisee force nag nekkutoon suma intention ñëwutoon suma xel bi waaye si suma yaay benn friend am ku nekk di liggéey petroleum kooku ma ko wane waxal sa doom bi mu try mu study course bi parce que kooku tamit loolu la nekk di def so mu ne ko waxal sa doom bi mu try mu study course bi ni parce que dina ko njëriñ after Salaji duga nag waaye rëccu ma ko
that's it maybe just one more because I'm got the experience of working in Senegal comparing the two naka Senegal da nga am more women to them into auto mechanics and stuff like that.
Mechanic tamit I was the only one.
You were the only one. So perhaps similar. ñun dañ dee am the impression that maybe.
Well, it's a male-dominated field. Xam nga góor yaa fa nekk ak yooyu noonu. So yow boo fa ñëwee da nga gis naka nga gisee comme ku nekk ak cër buñ la war a jox ci sa liggéey jox nañ la comme ndax da nga gis ne góor yaare gën a jël liggéey yi sa loxo.
góor yi dañ dee bëgg a jël liggéey bi suma loxo man tam sometimes dama dee bañ parce que yow ori gaay ñu ne fu góor yi nekk tamit benn jigéen dañ laa bëggoon ne kii jigéen la du mun a liggéey lii du mun a waaye man dama dee bañ dama leen dee jaay tamit dañu noo leen dëgëree boobu tamit noonu laa dëgëree boobu kaay parce que ñun ñëpp ay góor la yenn saa yi dañ dee toog sama ne leen fii benn jigéen ne ko fi ñu ñëpp a ngee sol tubéy soo dañ dee nekk di wax hey awa bu yow bu ñu sonal yow ñu yow jigéen nga
tubéy yi duñ benn de ñëpp a dee sol tubéy waaye tubéy yi duñ benn
waaye si liggéey bi ñun ñëpp parce que in terms of marine film soo dégga we are all men
dëgg la
si marine comme liggéey géej ñu ne ñëpp góor lañ benn jigéen nekkut fa loo nekk jigéen sa duñ la sóoraale na jigéen nga parce que
waaye xam nga ñun dañ believe ne in our society jigéen yi ñun waruñ leen a bàyyi yeneen jigéen yi yeneen liggéey yi xam nga ok mais bi dañoo ne ok am na fuñ war a tight mu dëgër loolu liggéeyi góor la understand nga so xam naa moo tax góor yi dañoo ne ok bu ñoo sonal sa waaji bu baax xam nga waaye nag yow bu nekkee ne you can handle it it's not a big deal
non comme da nga dee mun a handle yéena waaye comme man yéena saay toog réñ tam ko dee taay waaye suma benn boo su ma ne ma jigéen nga bu dee taayit loo xam ne dafa taawi sa yaram bi because da nga war a sëy suba ba pare da nga war a am ay doom mun ngaa taayit yéena taay waaye toog dafa miiti ba pare da nga xaaci sa loxo bi like soo waree toog loo xam ne ay 120 ay 150 200 xam nga loolu dafa soxla doole bu mag yéena saay da nga gis ñaari góor ñu jéem a force ndax ñu mun a taayit bulong boobu noonu pour mu mun a dëgër
ok
so comme dañ ma dee mun a avoid doonu après tamit enu xam nga liggéey mécanique tamit dafa ànd ak enu lu diis because da nga enu spare parts bu diis da nga enu siiw loo xam ne diw la ak yooyu noonu dama dee jéngu nag wax dëgg suñu ma waxee ne bu laal yi dama dee laal sometimes dama ne awa yow da nga dëgër boppa ma ne leen waaw parce que sooy jànga dara foog nga dëgër boppa soo dëgërutee boppa du dem te loo xam ne ay góori kese la nga nekk yow jigéen yow kese foog nga dëgër boppa sometimes nga wane ne waaw man dama try ma def lii by force mu neex leen mu naxari leen
waaw pour mu dem
waaw
loolu mooy dégg nag Mr Mbodj
waaw si before nga wax loolu I was gonna ask ne lan moo gën a métti sa liggéey well gis naa ne the physical part obviously jigéen nga am na yoo xam ne you don't have the strength léegi maa ngi doon jëm a consider loolu ak attitude di góor ñi ak yow within the workplace so what would you say what's been the most difficult part of sa liggéey
difficult part bi most like dafay nekk maintenance time boo xam ne dafa hectic nga am emergency fat loolu moo dee nekk hectic time bi waaye su passé loolu man comme luñ dee wane dafa métti man I don't see it
méttiwul si yow
man gisuma ko xaw ma nag waaye dañ wax ne comme yow loo bugal sa bopp si sa biir xool du dee métti ak yow loo fas éene nga ne man lii laa bugg a def lii laa éene suma bopp pour def nga focus foog ma ne daf dee métti man wax dëgg nag liggéey bi ak lu ñu doon dafa métti ak yooyu noonu man gisuma lu ko si métti because tamit suma parents yi tamit ñu ngi maa help ñu ngi maa motivate because can you imagine da ngaa jóg from first ferry that is from 5:30 but sometimes bala ngaa ñibbi sa kër ay 1 o'clock wala ay 12 si guddi si jigéen métti na sometimes suma yaay daf ma ne ko wala waaye yow awa yow dégguma la di guddee nga ma ne ko waaw ñu ngi nii di jël last ferry Banjul mu ne ma guddee nga di ma ne ko waaw noonu la tey liggéey bi dafa xala demee mu ne ma waaw léegi daf ma am pour call ne waaw soo leen demee ba egsi baara call ma tegal la ndox nga gis suma ñëwee dama sangu farba te ëllëg dama amaat pour xëyaat first ferry waat delluwaat waaw
first ferry xanaa foo dëkk
delluwaat léegi may dëkk baara
ok all right léegi comme tey ferry bi mu ngi war a dem baara jógee Banjul xanaa da ngeen dee nekk si biir ferry bi ngeen a ànd ak ferry bi all the time ndax da ngeen am emergency spot boo xam ne foofu suñ leen niidee rek ñu oo leen
non dañ dee dem
da ngeen dee ànd ak ferry
bi di dem a ñëw because you are dealing with engines machine nga amee te da nga am pour dem di xool ferry bi du moo dawee nu moo nekk di dem diggante baara Banjul yow noonu ngay demee tamit di xool sa machine yi parce que machine dañ dee wax machine alali jine la foo ko dut fogee foofu la lay jàmbu léegi balaa caa mu jàmbu la dangay teel a fagaru sa boppa nga teel a bàyyi xel te soo ko xoolee ferry lu moo eb si nit bëri na yaa ngi eb lu dem si ay 200 300 to 1000 people nit boolekut ak ay moto yoo xam ne da nga jël ay 27 28 moto nga boole leen def leen si benn tegu si kaw ndox di dem da nga war a bàyyi sa xel si lu bëri moo tax dañ si dee overla bàyyi suñu xel si lu bëri
ok da ngeen am dashboard comme boo xam ne dara su xewee rek dafa indicate na ok
si engine bi waaw
diw bi jeex na diw baa ngay dee o ok lifin bi doxut fan bi doxut ak yooyu noonu
waaw si dashboard bi mu ngi fa moo tax comme ñu ngi am suñ lii log boo xam ne every 2 hours da nga am pour def yow proper check-in da nga am pour enter surrounding hours bi like machine bi lu mu nekk di daw
okay
machine bi lu mu nekk di daw fuel bi lu mu nekk di consume ndax yow yaa ngi consume more fuel wala yaa ngi consume less fuel so consume fuel mi nag daf dee des si yow loo nekk di daw parce que dañ fi am waame nga am ñookook waaw waame ndox bu bëri la ñookook slide water la
ban moo dee gën a consume
waame parce que yaa ngi daw ak high tide yaa ngi daw
against the water
yaa ngi non da nga dee daw against the water all the time
okay
waaye waame ngelaw dafa bëri because yaa ngi daw ak ngelaw moo nekk da nga dee gis si wave bi mu bëri sometimes nit yi dañ dee egg si féeri bi di yuuxu hey féeri baa ngee ñëw daanu féeri baa ngee ñëw daanu because of yaa ngi si waame ndox daf dee bëri si biir géej bi moo dee bëri leen ndox so loolu la waame ndox bi daf dee bëri waaye ñoo ko ndox bi du dee bëri
so man bëgg naa xam ñaata si benn dee ñaata ngeen dee mun a fuel suñ engine yi comme ñaata litres la dee mun a jël
comme duñ dee lii aidé ñun dañ dee fuel every week
weekly
waaw weekly lañ dee
weekly ñaata ngeen dee jël
daf dee des yéen ay nda waaye most likely 15,000 lañ dee
15,000
litres
ngeen dee jël
every week waaw every 7 days
loolu daf dee dem ba week bi jee
waaw daf ñu dee saaf 7 to 6 days waaye balaa mu éega you have to request again for a standby waaw because doo mën a affaire yi machine la doo mën a toog nga xaar ba last minute nga ne yaa ngi doog a request parce que lu nekk ak process la
so now what's the way forward for you lan nga bugaat yokkaat si sa life I mean because bëgg ñoo gis ne nga nekk marine engineer nga stop fa achieve nga lii lan nga bugg a achieve balaa ñoo tëj programme bi bu nekkee nag bëgguloo ko wax tam si programme bi still because sometimes daf dee depend
no bi kay liñ ko war a laaj kay mooy naka nga gis sa career as a marine engineer in the future
suma carrière ni moo gisee ak marine engineer because man it is moo nekk lu ma bugg a def in life marine engineer because man love naa course bi bugga naa course bi te bugga naa ko def ndik suma réew waaw parce que maa ngi nekk si réew boo xam ne géej a ko wóor so man liggéey géej te xam naa ne loolu laa bugga lu ma war la pour ma def ko waaw naka la di sax
so yow léegi tey suñ la utaloon sponsor ñu ne la ok dañ laa yóbbu Amérique ñu yóbbu la Germany nga dem nga jànga nga gën a yokk sa xam-xam mbaa soo demee doo dem toog si firi yi foofu nga liggéey nga bàyyi fi
non man su ma jàngee man
are you sure sa moro waxoon nañ ko
non man bugga naa ma jànga ma dellu ma ñëw liggéey si suma réew parce que nit lu mu bon sa réew su la defaree taranga nga delloo ko
dëgg la
waaw nga delloo taranga bu mu la jox man su ma yàlla defee ma am scholarship pour ma dem studies dama dellu si waat because su demee ba opportunity bi am to this extent ndik compagnie bu ma nekk di liggéey te compagnie bi réew baa ko moom yaa ngi dégg chance la waaw ma nekk man benn jigéen ma nekk di liggéey si ay askan ñu xam ne ñëpp ay góor lañ yaa ngi dégg waaye si nekkoon comme liggéey bi dañ doon sabotage wala di la wax yeneen dinaa doon discourage waaye si liggéey bi nit yi seen boppa yi dee jaala sax ñoom seen boppa ñoo ma dee nekk di encourage because yenn saa yi du ma dee nekk duties dama dee nekk suma off duties su ma demee marché hay yow awatee liggéeyloo ma ne leen déedéet liggéeyu ma yaa ngi dégg so waaw suñ ma toogee long time gisuñ ma hay yow gisuñ la fan yi di lu xew ma ne leen noo liggéeyu ma suma duty maa ngi off so loolu rek mooy wane ne war naa fas jom téye si liggéey bi waaw da ngaa cross yenn saa nga cross hay xanaa léegi da nga bàyyi liggéey bi déedéet bàyyi ma liggéey bi maa ngi off xam nga comme it means si dañ war a di ma gis all the time ma nekk di liggéey waaw
dëgg la awa kontaan nañ torop si sa ñëw bi ñu ngi laa wish good luck understand nga continuer rek liggéey réew we have a work to do ñun liggéey lañ am de te gis nga wax bi dafa bëri rek waaye réew mi si ñun la moo mujjee ñun xale yi gis nga mag yi ñoom seen time jeex na def nañ lu ñoo def so léegi xale yaa amee affaire si time dina ñëw yow you will be accountable si lan nga nekk di def foofu noonu man or any other person so jërëjëf keep doing what you do dégg nga thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, viewers, this is all we have today on QTV this morning. Mr. Mboy, 10 time jehna.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so until we come here again, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.